And we are back on the build phase. I'm Mr. Ben, and today I'm joined by Scott from Epic Loot Games to talk about the upcoming Versus Regional. Scott, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi. How's it going?
I'm feeling great, and I'm really excited to eventually dig into talking about the event that you're going to play host to.
Actually, before we roll into all that, can I quickly do shout outs? I just want to shout out the Buckeye League guys, the Team Buckeye guys, because it's really David Robbins, Roland Christie, and Earl Teetsort who really are the driving force behind everything. They organize, the online Buckeye League. It's really their ideas that led into the side events that we're doing. They're the ones that have been really doing these draft events, as you know, with the online Buckeye League and the free for all stuff. Like they're like gung ho about those formats. And so, so I've been working with David a lot to sort of come up with the formats for the side events for the regional, and also tertiary kind of to them, I guess, is also Keebler, who people probably know as Sean Powell, because he does like the intros. He does video editing. He's the guy that is kind of the creative, artistic person behind those elements of what you see on the Buckeye League stuff. So anyway, I just want to shout out those guys because without them, none of this would be happening. So just wanted to get that on
And
on
they're
top.
awesome guys on top of
Yeah.
all the accolades you just listed. So, where are these events located, and when do people need to
Oh yeah.
show up?
So we're in Centerville, Ohio. It's a suburb of Dayton, Ohio, which is close to Cincinnati, Ohio. Somebody asked me just today, as a matter of fact, if they should fly, which airport should they fly into? You should probably fly into, if you're flying, you should probably fly into Dayton. We're about a 40-minute drive from the Dayton airport. We're just south of Dayton suburb, and the airport is north of Dayton. So you got to go through Dayton. But if you fly into the Cincinnati Airport is technically in Kentucky. It's across the border in a suburb that's in Kentucky. So if you fly into the Cincinnati Airport, you have to cross the state border, drive all the way through Cincinnati. It ends up being about an hour and 15-minute drive, even though technically we're much closer. We're only a 40-minute drive from Cincinnati, but you got to go all the way through Cincinnati into Kentucky to the airport. So unless airfare is way cheaper to Cincinnati, you're probably better off flying into Dayton.
That's
Anyway,
a good tip.
so
Yeah.
that's where, yeah. Dates. It's September 15 to 17, Friday through Saturday. The regional is on Saturday, the 16th. The side events are Friday and Sunday. And I just got confirmation that we will have League there. So League will be running all weekend, same as it was at Gen Con, except Senator Kelly will not be a League promo card. Senator Kelly is the regional promo card. So it's a participation card. Everybody gets a Senator Kelly. And then the League promos are, all 12. For those of you that were at Gen Con, you know already. But if you weren't at Gen Con, it's all 12 of the Alpha Combat Unit Sentinels, and Mutant Control Act, and a training ground. So
So,
those will be available if you play League.
if someone is listening to this that has not played League before, can you give us a breakdown on which expansion they're going to need to purchase and how League works?
Yeah, good call. Okay, so the way League works, you buy a pack, a recent pack. Uh, in our case, it can be, well, I should say with a caveat, if Frightful Foes is out by then, you can buy the two Cosmic Power packs that are out at that time, the Fractured Families and Frightful Foes. That will count as a League entry, or you can buy one of the big boxes. Unfortunately, the AEW box is sold out everywhere. I've checked with all our distributors. It's completely sold out, so I can't restock that one. But you can get the Boys or House of X or Mortal Kombat. Any of those three boxes will also get you into League. So you get one of those. That gets you into League. You play 7 games with the cards from that box. These are just casual games. They're not, it's not like the regional. There's no big money or anything. But every round you play, you get one of the promo cards. You just pick one and you get that for 6 games. And then the 7th game, you get a playmat. I forgot to mention that. There's also a Sentinel playmat. Um, if you want all of those cards, because that's 14 cards, right? You're only going to get 6 the first playthrough. You have to buy another pack and play another League entry round of 7 games. And each game you'll get a card. And then on the 7th game, you'll get the final 2 cards. So that's how League works. The same way they did it at Gen Con. The only difference is this. Well, I should say the 2 differences. One is there's no Senator Kelly. But the big difference is at Gen Con, since Upper Deck was running it, and they had plenty supplies of all of those promo cards on hand, you could pick whatever card you wanted every round, and you could even pick multiples of the same card. So you could go, I want to get my 4 training grounds, right? And just play 4 league games, bam, 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 get 4 training grounds. We won't be able to do that because the way they send the prize product is we get 1 league pack or league kit per player that's registered. And those league kits come with 1 of every card. So we can't have you taking multiple cards because then other people won't get the training grounds or the mutant control axe. Presumably nobody's going to want multiples of the Sentinels because they're all 1 of a kind. But anyway, you get my point. So you get 1 card every round you play of your choice, but you can't pick the same card twice. So that's
Seems
the one thing that'll be different. Yeah, let me mention this too. This is kind of important. Because as I just mentioned, we get 1 league kit per player that's going to be at the event. Right now, what we're expecting is 24 players. That's what I've talked with Upper Deck about. That's how many prize support kits they're going to send us, basically, enough for 24 players. We already have 15 people signed up, pre-sold tickets for the event. So if you're planning to come, I really recommend that you get on our website, follow the link. Hopefully, Mr. Ben will put the link in this description for this
It'll
video.
Be in the show notes, absolutely.
Cool. Go to the link, buy your ticket, and contact me personally and let me know which box you want for League. And if you're going to sign up for League twice, which 2 boxes you want, or 3 if you want the Fractured Family and Frightful Foes. Because that's another thing I got to make sure we have enough in stock, for everybody that wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm placing those orders now, and I'm also letting Viets know if we exceed 24 people, which is starting to look like it's possible because we've already pre-sold 15 tickets, then I need to let him know to send even more prize support. If that doesn't happen, let's say everybody waits till the last minute to show, like if you drive here, people have been asking me, Scott, what's the deadline to buy my ticket for the event? Technically, there is no deadline. You could just show up Saturday morning, right? And pay the $20 and play in the regional. But if you do that, there probably won't be enough prize products to go around. So then you're going to have to wait for the Upper Deck to send it in the mail, and who knows when that happens. So if you want to make sure that there's enough prize product for all the players, make sure you sign up early and let me know what you want, which packs you want for League. That way we can make sure to get enough prize support.
Okay, so that sums up League. I think that covers all the questions there. Let's move into Friday. So we talked about side events on Friday. What's going on Friday?
Friday is the Buckeye Draft event. This is something, like I was saying earlier, the Team Buckeye guys came up with. They thought, what if we do a draft, right? And they started this whole drafting thing. And I'm not talking about old school, CCG drafting where you draft cards out of a booster pack, right? But they decided to do like a sports league draft where you draft your main characters that you're going to play. So you don't have everybody playing the same thing. You literally get one. Everybody has a different main character because there's only 1 of each character in the draft pool. Sometimes they've had it where you have 2 copies of every MC in the draft pool if there's not enough characters in the draft pool for everybody to get one, right? So for what we're doing, we're sort of taking that and putting a local spin on it. We're going to just lay out all the MCs that are in the draft pool on a table and say, here's the draft pool. Like, we'll provide the MCs. You bring your own deck, we provide the MCs. We're going to lay them all out, and we decided the draft pool for the MCs is going to be all the main characters that are from the following 4 teams: X-Men, Brotherhood, Fantastic, and Frightful, right? So we figure that gets sort of all the teams that have gotten new characters lately. So that's, I think we figured it out, it's 56 characters right now. Assuming if Frightful Foes comes out in time, it'll be a little over 60 probably. I don't know exactly how many MCs there are in that box. But anyway, so that gives us enough MCs to have 20 players and still have 3 times the number of MCs that we have players. So we think that's a good number. The first round of the draft is going to be everybody picks one of those MCs to veto, and then nobody can draft that one. So that like the really crazy powerful ones, like I'm guessing Uatu, Franklin Richards, Reed Richards, Probably all those get vetoed in the first round. And then we randomize the draft order again. And then we actually draft the MCs we're going to be playing. And then that's the MC that you're stuck with for the draft, for the event. What we're recommending, because you don't necessarily know which MC you're going to play, right? We recommend you bring several decks. So plan for playing different MCs, build a deck that you would play for this MC and your second choice and your third choice. And maybe bring a sideboard of some cards that you just figure, well, if I get stuck with something that's not even in my top 3, I know I can stick these cards in and make something decent. Once the draft is complete, we'll do a half an hour for deck construction. So again, the more prepared you are, the better. Don't bring your entire collection and think you're just going to build a deck from scratch in 30 minutes, unless you're a super genius. So, come prepared. Bring like a B, and a C choice, and then maybe some sideboard cards that you can figure out how to mix with whatever MC you end up with. So that's the draft event in a nutshell. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, that's
I think
cool.
it's gonna be fun.
I think the likelihood that like the top third best characters all get deleted and this ends up being like tier 2 and like tier 3 characters fighting it out is going to create some unique matchups that we probably haven't seen in competitive environments before. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to skip over Saturday because I want to talk about the regional last, and we'll go straight to Sunday. So what do you have cooking for us on Sunday?
Sunday's a free-for-all event. This is another event that the Buckeyes, have been really doing lately. It's going to be 3 or 4 players per table. Obviously, depends how many players we get, but we're going to divide the players up as equally as possible. I should mention for the draft tournament, I almost forgot to mention this. There's only 2 banned characters, so it's multiverse format. Anything goes. Just follow normal deck construction rules, right? So you can't mix photo and illustrated unless you have a card like Uatu who says you can.
Unless you can, yeah.
Yeah. But we are banning 2. Senator Kelly, Maximus, and Machine, the Invention Machine, are all banned for the draft event. So don't bring those, but bring anything else you want. And then for Sunday, we also have a couple of banned things for Sunday. All right, so for Sunday's event, the free-for-all, we only have 2 banned cards, and it's Dark Phoenix MC and the new Loki MC from WandaVision. So those are banned because if you look at those cards, they say every other player X. So like Dark Phoenix destroys every other player's face-down locations, and new Loki says every other player discards X number of cards when he uses his level 3 power, which is just ridiculous. I mean, in a multiplayer game, that's just too good. Everybody would just play those 2 characters if they were available. So we're banning those 2. Everything else goes. And, people are going to say, well, what about this broken thing? What about that broken thing? None of the other things are as broken as those 2 things. And what we have found, we've been playing a lot of free-for-all. What we have found is if you bring something like, I'll just throw out Valkyrie as an example, MCU Valkyrie. You bring something like that, everyone's going to gang up on you. So bring something like that if you want to. Knock yourself out. See how it goes. Anyway, so the free-for-all event is going to be 3 or 4 players per table. We'll divvy everybody up. We're also going to separate teams. So just so everybody knows, if you come with your buddies and you have sort of a game plan, like, hey, let's all play together. And yeah, that's not going to work because we're going to separate you. So anyway, we'll separate the teams. And then after that, the seating is going to be done by, your ranking and all that stuff. So, if you and somebody you came with both win at your tables, then you could be at a table together in a future round. That's possible. We won't be able to do anything about that. But so the free-for-all should be a lot of fun. It's probably going to be, we're going to do 80-minute rounds for that because you have 3 or 4 players per table. It's going to take longer than a normal game. So that's why that one's on Sunday, because that event's probably going to take a little longer than the draft event. I should also mention start times. The draft event Friday is going to start at 4 p.m. We didn't want to start it too late because then we'll be here really late Friday night, and everybody's going to be exhausted Saturday morning for the regional. So we were like, we kind of want to wrap up the Friday event by 9 p.m., or so. So we decided 4 p.m. was the latest we could start it and still end at a reasonable time. The Sunday event is going to start at 11:30 a.m. So that one might go. I mean, it's probably depending on how many people are there, but it's probably only going to be 3 rounds, and then just one playoff table. Because you got 4 players at that playoff table. Um, but they're 80-minute rounds, so that one could go till 4 in the afternoon or something like that. So don't plan to fly out too early if you're flying, I
It
think.
seems like the bans in both the free for all and the draft event are just kind of like, hey, let's take the stuff that feels the worst and not play with that, but keep it
Yeah,
as much as we can of everything else. Is that pretty fair?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally am a big fan of the modern format. I think those guys, the Modern Council, are nailing it in terms of like.
Yeah.
I know there's this whole and I know there's going to be a podcast soon about the differences between modern and incursion and the different goals of them. So I know there's different goals. I'm not trying to say one's better than the other. I like incursion also, but I really really love the philosophy of the Modern Council, that they're taking a surgical approach. They're finding the problem cards, the ones that enable these really broken things, right? And just pulling them out of the format, which I think is great. So that's sort of the approach we took with these 2 events. We just said, let's just ban the like really problematic cards that are just gonna, make the game unfun or the event unfun. Or like I said, like if we allowed Loki and Dark Phoenix in the free for all, it'd just be basically 8 players playing one and 8 players playing the other, and that would be the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's no fun. We want to see a variety of characters played.
The main course of the podcast, as it were, the regional. So, what time do we get started? What's the format? How many rounds? What should people expect with this regional?
Well, again, I expect we're gonna get around 24 players. I'd be real surprised if we exceeded 32. I don't think that's going to happen. So I expect we'll be somewhere in the 20s, which means we'll play 6 rounds of Swiss to a top 8 cut. So we're starting at 11:30 a.m. That's when we want to start, by the way. So people should come to the store at 11. Fill out your deck list, your paperwork. Obviously, if you've played in one of these big events, regional or the championship at Gen Con, you have to fill out the legal document so that Upper Deck can send you a check. So anyway, we'll have all that paperwork on hand. Show up at 11. That's when the store opens. We'll have a half hour to get everybody filled out their paperwork and stuff. And then we should sit down. The goal is to sit down and play the first round at 11:30. We'll see if that works out. I mean, we try to run a tight ship at Epic Loot. Things always, something doesn't go quite right. So start at 11:30. We'll play 6 rounds of Swiss, a top 8 cut. I figure if everything goes smoothly, I mean, we'll probably be there till 8 or 9 p.m., right? I mean, it's probably going to be all day, but we should finish in time that people can go and get some sleep before Sunday morning. Sometimes I was just going to say, so our store closes at 9 p.m., but I know somebody. We can stay late if we have to.
You may have
I
access
can
to the keys.
I may have the keys to the store, so if necessary, we could stay late. But we'll try and wrap things up by 9 p.m.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what format are players playing in?
Oh, it's Incursion, and I mean, I was told that they are making it a priority to update the Incursion destroyed list, after Gen Con. I don't have an exact timetable for when that's going to happen, so I mean, maybe it doesn't happen in time for our event, but I'm I think it will. I think that will get updated pretty soon at this point. It's been what, a week and a half since Gen Con, so give them a little more time. I'm sure they're working on it, but maybe soon we'll have a new incursion list. Um, I would expect this one to be a pretty big destroyed list, right? Because
I hope so.
First of all, yeah, I mean, Gen Con's the biggest event of the year, and it wasn't like one of the recent regionals where there were a small number of people, so they only banned like 2 or 3 cards. I think this one, I mean, if you look at what they banned after the first incursion, right? They banned what, 20 cards, something like that. I mean, granted, 8 of them were one of a kind sentinels, so you could kind of maybe group those as one card. But even so, it was a lot of cards that got banned. I think we're probably looking at, I don't know, something like 8 to 10 banned cards this time. That's just a guess. I don't have any inside information. Total guess. But I think it's going to be pretty significant. I think Mystique is for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you
what
have
Jose
to
was playing.
ban the main character that won the event. Like that card
Yeah,
has to be
exactly.
destroyed. No
Yeah.
question.
And
Um,
and a lot of the stuff he was running is stuff that a lot of people were running. Mutant Control Act was all over the place at Gen Con. Um, what else? Ahab. Um, I don't remember how many people were playing Tim Buba. I remember a lot of people talking about putting that in their decks, but I don't remember for sure if a lot of people actually did. Lilith was probably in a lot of decks. Marvel Girl, I think, was in a lot of decks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we could see getting banned this time. So
I know when
anyway,
I talked
we'll
to
see what happens.
Jose, he specifically talked about Stand Together being all over the place, and that card's kind of out of pocket to begin with. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of people, a lot of the Team Apex guys in particular were playing Loyal Magneto. Magneto might also get banned for that matter, because I think 4 or 5 people in the top 8 were running him. And
so it's
you know,
probably
here's
fair
another
to
thing.
say at this point, if somebody is looking to prepare for the event, you can look at what's been destroyed. Obviously, those cards remain destroyed, and you have
Yeah,
a decent idea of what's likely to be destroyed for this upcoming regional. Although at this
yeah,
time we don't have any new information.
exactly. Look at the top 16. I don't know exactly what the formula they use to determine what gets destroyed is. I mean, they've never publicly stated, here's the formula, right?
Yeah.
All we know is that it's got something to do with the decks or the cards that were predominant in the format. So yeah, if you just look at the top 8, they published the top 8 decks from each qualifying day. So for Thursday and Friday. So if you look at those, you can get at least an idea, maybe, of what's going to be banned. Adam Warlock, I think, there's 3 Adam Warlocks, so he might get banned. There's a bunch of Ghost Spiders, so she might get banned. Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings me to the end of the outline that I had prepared of all the things that we wanted to hit. Is there anything else about the event, the store, before we go to shout outs at the end of the show? Is there anything else that you want to make sure we touch on? I guess we should mention how
Um.
nice your bathrooms are. I saw a video that called that out specifically. I'll link that video in the show notes too.
Okay. Yeah, that's funny. Again, you got to leave it to Keebler. He's the one that comes up with that stuff.
Arguably, your bathrooms are now world renowned because
Yeah.
Obs is from Belgium and he made a comment about how nice the potties were based on that video. So
That's awesome.
come
Yeah.
for the epic loot, stay for the epic bathrooms, I guess.
Right. Stay for the epic potties. So yeah, I'm happy that it's happening, and we're excited and thrilled, and hopefully we put on a good event and people have a good time. That's what matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really exciting. I like that they're taking the events out of the cons and putting them in the stores. I think that
Yeah.
fits the player base of our game. I think that fits the
Yeah.
sort of marketing strategy of our game a lot better than expecting people to buy a con ticket and enter the event. It's just
Yeah.
the players who
Yeah.
are spending that kind of money on their hobbies are the single dudes who are still playing Magic. Us old men, I want to play in a game
Yeah.
store with a nice bathroom. That's where I'm at in my life. All right. Well,
Anyway,
here at
I
the end
don't
of the
know why
show, I
we're
want
talking
to
so
give
much
a
about
chance
this.
for you to plug, promote, shout out, and anything else other than the Buckeye guys because we covered them already.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say we already did all the shout outs I wanted to do. I don't really have anything else to plug. I mean, everybody that's local already knows Epic Loot, and everybody who's coming from out of town. I mean, I hope you find it welcoming.
Well, hey,
Come to Ohio and have a good time.
I appreciate you sitting down to talk about the event, and I'm always a fan of a nice little ramble into card game history. Uh, that is right up my alley. I mean, the reason I have this podcast is because I like rambling about card game stuff. So
Oh,
you're an
dude,
excellent
I
guest. That was
could
very fun to have you on the
I could
show.
rap with you. I could rap with you for hours about all kinds of game history stuff. I mean, obviously, if I decided to open a game store, obviously I'm a little obsessive about gaming.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have that obsessive compulsive nature, and I found a way to express it in a job that, it works in.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I
it's kind of
love
like the
gaming and
best luck in the world to be able to like do what you love and be able to feed yourself and your family doing it. Like that's awesome, man.
yeah.
All right, man. I think we're gonna leave it there. Till next time, go win some games.